I genuinely don't know anything about them.
Did you ever look into Turkmenistan, as I asked? As I
I
requested?
mean, I haven't looked into it specifically. I know about Turkmenistan,
Dude.
just about how they operate.
Like, I think that's one of the wildest ones out there.
Yeah, they got some stuff. All the stand countries blend.
Yeah, except this guy banned colored cars
Yeah, no, he's a character.
and then shot his own book into space.
People helping people. What can I say?
Yeah. Sometimes I just go on Google Earth. This is what I was doing. My wife looked at me. I was like, she's like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, I'm looking at Western Sahara. She's like, what? It's like, yeah, I'm on Google Earth. Because you had recommended me look at that. Like, check it out. Because you just basically said, I don't know what it is. It's just a contested area in Africa. And then I found out, Ben, that they just have like this buffer zone that's littered with landmines and everything because it's a disputed territory. It's wild.
That's a scene. That's a scene.
What would you say is the wildest scene on Earth right now? Like if you could pick one. Geography's your strength.
Like active scene?
I think so, yeah.
Like, well, I mean, probably Ukraine, but
no, but I mean just like that people don't know about. Kind of low key, like Eritrea is a good one.
Mozambique.
Yeah.
Burkina Faso.
Yeah. Somalia's got a football soccer stadium.
They do. Oh yeah, I was supposed to bet that game this morning. I forgot.
Oh, there was a Mogadishu City.
There was a game. Anyway, what's up,
Good
people?
morning. We had to continue the conversation.
We did.
Happy to have you guys with us. Welcome to the First Look Strategy Show championship round. This is it until the Super Bowl, man. This is it. Eagles, Commanders. Who would have thought? Eagles, Commanders, Bills, Chiefs. That one to me was just like Bills, Chiefs had to happen. Although poor Mark Andrews. Look, you know, I'm a man of, I have a heart, I'd like to think at times, right? I'd feel a whole lot differently if Mark Andrews had a significant monetary impact on my day. But that poor guy, man, the fumble and then the drop 2-point conversion, nobody had a worse week than he did.
Yeah, I mean, you feel for him. It happens. I don't know. It was a weird game. You know, not to dive too far into it, but it's kind of amazing because Lamar did not play well again. He made the plays when he needed to late, but they never should have even been in that position because of how bad they played early. And that was the theme of the weekend to me. The absolute theme of the weekend is, and this is not a novel concept, you could be the better team, but if you turn the ball over and you make errors, a quality team like Washington, like Buffalo, they can beat you. And that's what happened.
The turnovers are going to be critical. Look at the Philly game too. Jalen Carter, the punch out on Kyron Williams.
Philly's but to me, the difference is Philly is also better.
They're definitely better, but once you get those elements factored in, it's kind of all bets are off. Like you can say, oh yeah, you know, like Philly's a cold weather team. They don't play in the snow, right? Yeah. Like there were, if you watch the post games, I watched a lot of the post game locker room interviews. And, you know, you got Sweat. He's like, yeah, I did it once before. Slay's like, yeah, I think I played in the snow once. These guys, they don't play in the snow. You know, it's still like those are still unique conditions that it's just who makes fewer mistakes. And I agree. Philly's better. They covered the 5.5 good, or they didn't cover, depending on, because I think
it moved. Get there.
What?
I got hooked. I had 6.5.
Oh, that's right. I forgot we talked about that. But still, the one way or another, the punch out from Jalen Carter, and then the strip sack on Matthew Stafford. It's not like the Eagles' offense, out of 2 explosive runs from Saquon Barkley, did much. You know?
No, definitely.
So, yeah.
And yeah, I see you, Chad. Bills are not the Panthers. The Bills are an amazing team. There's no doubt. But there's also no doubt in my mind that the Ravens, at the height of their powers, are very difficult. And this is someone who I'm rooting for the Bills the whole way. So
me too. Well, other than if the Eagles make it.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen's my favorite player. I hope the Bills win. We'll see. But yeah, to me, it's just obviously Washington is the best example. I mean, Detroit is incredible and you turn the ball over 5 times, you're going to lose. You shouldn't win when you turn it over 5 times.
Wait, when did you compare them to a bad team? You were
No,
saying
I didn't. But
yeah, I don't even know why you
well, anytime I can, I love the Bills. They're just such a fun team.
No, I'm saying I don't know why you even dignified that with a response.
Fine.
No,
Strike it
no
from the tape.
disrespect to you, Rough Buff Fire. Appreciate you being here. But you were just what you said was if a good team makes mistakes against another good team, they're in trouble.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And Lamar, I'm not saying he'll be absolved of all that, but the blame has shifted to Mark Andrews for sure.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely. All 4 teams, I believe this is true. I didn't check it, but saw the stat that all 4 losing teams outgained in total yards.
Makes sense. Eagles had like 260 rushing yards, but aside from that,
yeah, they did nothing.
They did nothing in the passing game. And AJ Brown, inner excellence, my ass, huh? Everyone's returning that book after Sunday.
I mean, yeah, he dropped what should have been a touchdown, and I needed
dropped
that.
what would have been a first down on third down too. But that, I mean, even if that wasn't a touchdown, that was to the one. That was, I mean, by the way, it happens in the conditions.
Yeah,
it does.
Just
but
like Mark Andrews.
If people just looked at the box score and went, man, AJ Brown didn't get anything again, there were 60 yards left on the table in that game, right? In weird conditions. I don't even know if I have a goblin of the week. Like, I suppose you could say the Lions, but I hate to make goblin of the week.
Yeah, like Mark Andrews to me is not the goblin of the week.
I hate to make goblin of the week just like you had a bad game. To me, it should be not as much performance based as it is decision based.
I would 100% agree. Peripheral goblins that are low hanging fruit. Mark Andrews would be number 1. The refs in the Kansas City game would be number 2. I'm going to try to thread the needle, and hopefully this makes sense. I'm going to go with the Lions, not in the sense that they screwed anything up, in the sense that multiple times this year, not just me, I said, why are you running these insane trick plays for no reason when you're up by like 30 and you don't need the game? And it kind of caught up. I'm not saying that's why they lost the game, but they tried a trick play, and that was one of the many nails in the coffin when you had Jamison Williams just throwing the ball to nobody. And it's just like
that was. You're right. You're right. You don't
got caught up to them.
Ben Johnson and our friend Andy Francis too had said that this team, like, eventually all the trick stuff is going to catch up to them. Like, it's not just gonna last forever. They don't need to do that stuff. That's what you're saying. You don't need to. Some of the trick plays are cool. Like, they're fun. They're a really fun team. The designs, like that little shovel pass, what was it, from Montgomery to St. Brown to start the second half? That stuff's fun. But the Jamison Williams pass, like, you don't need to. You're doing that in a divisional game in the playoffs. You don't need to do that. You have David Montgomery, Jameer. I don't know if it was Montgomery or Gibbs, but the play I'm talking about, where he shoved. You have Montgomery, who wasn't 100%, but Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, a good offensive line. Why do you need to do that?
Typically, when you're the worst team, you want to up the variance. You want to do trick plays, gimmicks, because you don't want to play straight up. When you're the better team at home, I'm not the biggest fan of, like, why are you resorting to gimmicks? You're just better. You're a better team. And that's not a shot at Washington, but no one in their right mind. Detroit is a better team. They were favorite. If they played the game today, they would be decisive favorites again. And Washington said, you know what? We're going to make you beat us. And they didn't. And then Washington took advantage because they're a really good team as well. And it's just like, it caught up to them. Simple as that. It caught up to them. I never in a million years, though, thought that Goff would be the catalyst. I was so sure that he would take care of the ball. That was stunning to me.
It was stunning to me too. It was kind of reminiscent of that game against Houston earlier in the season in Houston, which is kind of one of the reasons I liked Houston against the Chargers in the wild card round, because I thought there were some spots that they lost where they were still kind of like the better team, or at the very least kept pace with really good teams. You know the game I'm talking about. Goff got picked off 4 times in Houston, and they still ended up winning that game. It was there. Those problems did exist. And, you know, eventually they resurface, and they certainly did. But I'm with you. I didn't expect that. Couple comments from the chat, and then we'll get started. By the way, if you're here, appreciate you. If you don't mind, take a second. Atone for your sins this morning. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. All of that stuff's free to do. I went to church on Sunday. I wore an Eagles jersey, and I thought someone was going to come up to me and tell me about false idols or something. And I'm going to say, listen, I haven't thought about LaShawn McCoy in a decade until I put the jersey on today. Leave me alone. Right? You know what I mean? People come in there. I wore a nice pair of khakis, nice shoes with it. People come in there wearing pajamas now, Ben, which I think is outrageous. But if it's a Sunday divisional round, I had the whole family wearing Eagles gear, and we atoned.
That's good. Well, and you were rewarded. Look at that.
Oh, you know what happened to me today?
What happened to you today?
No, really, this is a horrible way to start my morning.
I had a bad morning too, so go ahead.
Kids go off to daycare. They go a couple days a week, and doing the dishes, rinse out the coffee pot, put the coffee pot down. A cutting board falls from the drying rack, hits the coffee pot. The whole fucking thing exploded in the kitchen floor. Cleaning up glass is like the worst. I cut my fingers in 3 different spots. That's not even the concern. Concern is the kids come home and they start stepping in glass. So I spent an hour this morning when I could have been doing other things, just like vacuuming everything up, making sure that every spot, no stone left. There is nothing worse than shattering a glass, or in this instance, an entire coffee pot on the floor in the morning when you're already half awake.
Yeah, so our mornings were slightly different.
You can understand though the pain.
Yeah, I guess I thought the whole concept with young kids is you got to like teach them by, you know, they learn through activities. So it's like they step on glass once and then they know not to do that anymore.
Well, I'm not suggesting they're going to seek out the glass and jam it through their foot. What I'm saying
Sometimes you got to learn trial by fire.
Some
what kind of ship are you running over there?
That escaped. And then guess what, man? Listen, you ever end up having kids and that happens, and there's glass in your kid's foot? Well, you, at that point, you're the bad guy, okay? You're the bad guy.
Okay.
That's
all I had an equally bad morning. I woke up and I turned on the tennis.
I'm sorry. Mike Clifford said, Keurig, bro, it's 2025. I've done it. Keurig coffee is dog shit compared to any other coffee. Just throwing it out there. I have no problem with it. My in-laws use it. Fine. Keurig coffee is fake, terrible coffee. I drink black coffee. If you're drinking Keurig coffee, that's fine. No issues. Look, I'm not hating you for it, but it does not taste even remotely good. I had a Keurig a few years ago. We got rid of it. I'll never go back. Anyway,
I asked May. She said,
said about what?
She said, Keurig, it's fine.
But it's not, compared to like actual coffee, it's not good.
Okay.
Is she a Keurig person?
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
Nothing. I have nothing to say. I woke up, I watched the Australian Open, Alcaraz lost, and that was it. Frustrating.
Oh. Okay.
The worst, that's a hell of a lot worse than the little glass. But what are you going to do?
That must be a joke.
That was his time. Djokovic, not a fan. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. Anyway, let's go.
Where do we want to start with this? Do we want to go position by position, game by game? What are we doing?
I'll do anything. By the way, Jordan threw us our tiers that we finished at the end of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had Super Bowl contender, Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, Lions, Eagles. So 3 of 4. We had Washington as a fringe playoff team. Chargers we had as a fringe. Yeah, I mean, we had Houston as a playoff team. We knew they were, but I'd say we did all right, actually. We had Denver up there, Steelers, Packers, Vikings. I mean, I guess some of that's cheating, right? But
yeah, I mean, I would hope that we could identify the best teams, and you had two fringe playoff teams that not overachieved in the sense that they shouldn't be there. They just defied expectations, which is Washington and the Rams. That's about it. And you had, yeah, I mean, everything else is pretty much in line.
All right. Well, let's get into it. I think we can go however we want. If you want to go position here, that works too. I think we can actually. And plus, we're going to move around. We're not tied to anything. We make the rules here, brother.
We make the rules.
So let's do it. I mean, up top, the Hurts thing I do want to talk about at quarterback because, first of all, those conditions were legitimately bad, right? If you watch the second half of that game, shout out to you, by the way. Nice job timing that. It got sketchy at the end, though. I thought when it was like 13-10 for most of the third that you were just cruising to victory. And then I look and there's 50 points on the board and the Rams are driving.
Definitely got greasy. I timed it perfectly because I really did think that the weather would kind of slow the game, and it did, but never easy. And I haven't seen, I mean, it's very early in the week. What are we getting for weather this week? It looks to be more temperate or what?
Nothing. Like in this game, 40 degrees and cloudy.
I like that. You know what? No gimmicks. Let's just play.
Sure. I woke up today, it was 0 degrees. It's the
So before you got in Zoom, I told Jordan it was 7 here, and it was just
it's cold.
Really cold.
Yeah, I know. But no wind, so it's not that bad. As long as there's not wind, I can handle the cold. No problem. Give me 15 with no wind over 40 with like overcast and heavy winds.
100%.
Right? It's not wind makes it feel like it's -10. Can't handle. I can handle this
and
weather.
The snow swirling around. We got a good amount of snow, so
yeah. Same. We got like 5-6 inches. Not gonna happen. But no, you had a good call on that. I was surprised the books put it at 53.5, knowing that like that weather was coming.
That was again, those are little things, and we'll talk about some betting throughout the show, but little things you can take advantage with these games. But let's see.
What I was going to say, though, is Hurts rushed for 70 yards. He had a beautiful 44-yard touchdown early in that game. That was a beauty, right? Slipped the tackle, took off for the touchdown, set the tempo, and then Jake Elliott missed another extra. I mean, that guy, what happened to him? What happened to Jake Elliott? I couldn't tell you. His time is probably up. But I do wonder how concerned we should be about Jalen Hurts and his knee. Apparently it was already hurt, and then that looked like both knees and a groin on that tackle. And then there were reports, unsubstantiated, but people saying that he was perked up. It's possible. They could have put him on some analgesics because after that post game he appeared to be feeling pretty good. What are your thoughts there?
So my thoughts are, I mean, he's obviously playing. There's no danger he's not going to play. But within that, we're down to the final 4 quarterbacks, and all of them are very good and certainly mobile. From Josh Allen is a touchdown battering ram. Jaden Daniels, I think, could run upwards of 20 times in this game if they need him to. And Mahomes timely scrambles. Unfortunately, you don't get the penalty yards, or he'd be the most valuable player in the league. But I worry about if Hurts is relegated to just a pocket passer, is suddenly the volume going to go up because he doesn't throw the ball a lot. So now what are we doing? Where is his path to a ceiling?
I don't know what his path to a ceiling is. You know, last week, honestly, if that game if he wasn't banged up, well, matter of fact, Hurts had a decent game. I'm assuming you watched that whole game. Would have looked even better if Lane Johnson didn't take that false start penalty at the goal line.
Yeah, he was going to score on the push.
You know he was going to score, even with the bum knee. Like he was getting in. Then you're talking about a 24 fantasy point game, which is the same as Jaden Daniels, the same as any of the other top quarterbacks. So he actually would have had a really solid game despite no passing volume. I don't know if you can rely on that rushing upside right now. Now, he's not even on, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's not even on the injury. There's no, I guess they won't list it until there's like a official estimated practice. But right now there's no Q tag or anything on him.
I'm sure he'll have a Q tag. I would
think so. He's going to play though, even if they have to pump him full of drugs.
He's playing. That's not a thing. It's just tricky. Again, I don't want to start with like outrageous concepts, but it's 2 games. And to me, when you're talking about 2 game slate, game theory is more important than who you're really playing. Saquon is going to be like 80% owned because he should be. I wonder how it's going to look if you go the other direction and isolate all non-Saquon Eagles and somehow hope they get there in that way and that bad touchdown variance for Saquon. That's the only way I could even see myself getting to a lot of, not even a lot, just some Jalen Hurts.
I could see myself getting to a little Hurts if no one wants to play him. Again, last week he would have, right? Like looking at the quarterback performances, Allen had 19. Lamar had, what do you remember what Lamar had?
I think it was like, I think like 24-ish,
right?
something like that.
Yeah, Jaden had 25. Mahomes had 12. That was brutal. I texted you about that. I was like, Hollywood Brown has nothing. Hopkins has nothing. Not that I was overweight on all these guys, but even, Worthy had whatever. It was Travis Kelce was the only viable piece from that entire Chiefs team. There was not a single other viable, unless you had Kareem Hunt, I suppose in some spots, maybe Hunt was fine. But
that was a real killer for me. But
he still only finished with 11 and he was 52 or whatever. It didn't move the needle. Mixon ended up having a decent game. Here's what I mean though. You can't give Hurts a touchdown he didn't have, but 99 times out of 100, that's a touchdown and they don't jump off sides or they don't false start. Sorry.
The problem I have is you could play this both ways. Give him the touchdown. I totally agree. But next week, the chances that Hurts runs for a 40-yard touchdown with his knee is like 0%.
I agree.
So now what?
And if you're relying on him in the pocket, do you really want to do that?
Probably
really. Not. But what if on a 2-game slate with only 4 quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts ends up being like far and away the lowest owned quarterback? I don't actually think that's out of the conversation. I don't think that's impossible.
Neither do I. In fact, I think it's pretty clear he'll be the lowest owned of the 4.
Josh Allen's still my favorite. I'm going to ride the Josh Allen wave until it crashes. I just simply don't know how I can't.
I agree. I prefer both AFC quarterbacks to the NFC quarterbacks this week.
Yeah, where are you at on Jaden Daniels then?
I'm fine. I was way overweight last week. Worked out. Not to any great extent because I found the money to go get Mr. Zacchaeus, which was an incredibly bad mistake over Denami Brown. When you run the ball like that, it's, that's going to get you somewhere. He's got a great floor. First of all, I told you this. I'm going with Philly until the wheels fall off. I don't really understand. I didn't think the Packers were a super big threat to them. I didn't think the Rams were a super big threat to them. I'm not going to say that Washington's not a super threat to them because we know that this is going to be a competitive game, but the Eagles defense is really good. And I'm just worried about any quarterback facing them. I did not get to Jordan Love. I certainly didn't get to Stafford. Daniels can move, but I would prefer Mahomes at his price, and I'd certainly prefer Josh Allen.
They lost Nakobe Dean. The question now is, can Quinyon Mitchell play? I think that's pretty significant. Can Mitchell play?
He's playing.
What?
He's playing.
You think so?
Yeah, they said he avoided major injuries fine.
I know, and I know that he said that he'd be okay, but players always say that.
He's playing.
Players always say they're going to be all right.
He's
you know? All right. I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
Me too. But to me, I'm not saying that's not relevant because it is. But the rushing potential for Daniels is the great equalizer. Like I don't think that he's going to just dice up Philly. Where he could have value is he could have 18 carries for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. God, he rushed the ball 16 times against Detroit and 13 times against Tampa.
This is what I'm saying. That's massive.
Wow. I think this is the type of spot though where Mahomes, like you don't get to coast against Buffalo, right? You simply can't coast against Buffalo. like they did against Houston. Their defense stood up. Mahomes at 6K is, I'd still have to put Hurts fourth here. I'd go Allen. God, Mahomes is so cheap. The pass catcher connections are nice. I'd go Allen and then probably Mahomes, Daniels, Hurts.
Yeah, that's how I would have it.
And then wait till we get to wide receiver, man. If I told you before the playoffs started, like Terry McLaurin and De'Ami Brown could be the two chalkiest receivers on the slate, you'd call me crazy. In the championship round, you'd
Yes,
think
I
I was
would.
nuts. What?
I said, yeah, you're right. I would.
But that could be the case, especially if Quignon's out. God, I hope he plays.
He's
Let's talk running backs though. By the way, I was thinking about doing a demo for Portfolio EV, just throw it up on X or something like that for new people or people that wanted to try it, like a straight demo style. Here's
Do
how
it.
what?
Please do it. I
Yeah.
have something related to this actually.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying. So yesterday, Aton, a lot of you guys know him, did a literally a 2-minute video of just how to build a portfolio. And I got a bunch of messages from it of people just saying like, hey, because you can claim a free week. We'll talk about that in a second. I was wondering about like some of the, what do I do to get started immediately? And we have the tutorials up there, but honestly, we're kind of like talking about strategy on the show right now. People would love that. Just a basic walkthrough, Luffy, of how you're using it. That is a big common question of what do I do to get the most out of this? Because people are winning money. You've seen the testimonials in chat. We're using it every day to make money. People are like, I want to try this, but I want to know that I'm on the right path when I get started.
I'm gonna do it. Yeah,
Do it.
I'll show you because like all of my bets I placed from my phone, so I might just plug it in. I got the adapter. Might just plug it in from
Fancy.
the app. Show you how to use mass entry, all that stuff. Build portfolios out. Use the bet size recommendations. Hide bets. Look at the historical ROI and all of that stuff. Yeah, if you guys haven't tried it yet, it's the best tool. I think it's the best betting tool you're gonna find.
And
No better way that when you're having a rough DFS month or week to buoy your losses. You're like, oh wait, I'm still positive on the month. God, usually before anything like this, it would be like a catastrophe, right? A total disaster. Not anymore.
I mean, it's just, again, I'm firing entries into the milli. These tournaments that are like 2 million with $1 million up top, and they're awesome. We had someone in the Stokastic family take down one of the millis, the 555, and that's amazing. But for everybody else, I was in that tournament. I did not win the milli. But it's nice to not be all or nothing, to have some incremental passive income coming in. Because, oh yeah, I made 50 bets on DraftKings and ROI was pretty solid. So if you have not claimed your free week of Portfolio EV, Jordan can throw the link in chat. Come in and check out, like I said, 7-day free trial. All functionality, everything that we're using, all sports. Make sure you claim yours if you've never been on there before.
Yeah, man. Links in the description. Jordan can throw the link into chat as well. The only thing I'd say is if you're going to do it the whole week, make sure you're getting down as much volume as you can each day. It's super easy.
Bet $1 on every bet. You don't have to go crazy.
And then you have the bet tracker where you can link all your sports books and see your closing line value, see how your bets have performed, get granular by every single market. That's super important. That actually led me to bet more and higher volume on certain bets and less of specific bets. Seeing my own volume, like a larger sample, because when we look at historical ROI in the EV results tool, it's snapshots throughout the day. But with this, these are my own bets that I'm betting throughout the entirety of the day. That's significant when I can look back and be like, wow, I have 200 bets from just NBA assists on FanDuel this month. I got to bet more of that. I got to bet less of that. You know what I mean? That's a big thing for sure.
Oh yeah, huge. And you want to make sure you're getting closing line value because then it shows you're on the right track. Last thing, friend of the show too, Matt Riley said, any portfolio EV success stories in no gambling states like California? The reality is it's a little difficult, but certainly not impossible with the sweepstakes sites. Fliff is on. We have those books integrated right into the tools. And I know many people in the Discord that are in states like that. And do they have access to every book? No. So you have less options, but you still have plenty of options to rack up some money, even in a state like that.
Yeah, I interviewed a guy that only has one book in
And
Florida.
Hard Rock, the Hard Rock connoisseur,
Hard
like
Rock. And
what?
even with limits, I think like 50 max win limits or something, he made 14 grand and 12 grand in 40 days or something. So, yeah, the free week, guys, if you haven't done it, the week is free. Make sure you take advantage of that. Claim it with the link down below or in the chat. Even if you're just curious, like it's a fully free week and the tools are proven to be successful. All of our info, all of our data, all of our recommended bets are back tested. You can see the results before you even jump in. All right, let's talk about running backs here. The first things first is what do we do with Barkley? Because we are now at like the intersection of good teams and good players, but not dominant, concentrated offensive teams. You look at these spots, right? And it's like Buffalo can move the ball around everywhere. Kansas City can move as we've seen, win in a multitude of ways, move the ball around everywhere. And now you've got Kareem Hunt, who I think we both thought this guy would be not back to the couch, but definitely not still seeing more snaps than Pacheco, which is the case, and more touches than Pacheco. At running back, I was heavy on Eckler last week, mostly on our best ball, the second round best ball stuff.
Oh yeah, how'd that go?
Good. I got 12 through 28 through. That's pretty good. I'm dead in the original ones though. I don't think I have any.
A couple, but
yeah. But I'm saying even the ones that I got through, I don't think have much of a chance at this point.
I got one through. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say my second round best ball looks a whole lot better.
I have one team into the third round, and it has Terry McLaurin on it.
Nice.
But that's it. That's it. So if it's going to be a challenge, my one-man army of Terry, it's literally one player left. So if you see me in your group, you just got a one-man down.
What if Quinyon Mitchell's out?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna need more than Quinyon Mitchell. We're gonna need an asteroid, an arrowhead, and then multiple other things. Yeah. But yeah.
But I think Eckler is just still viable every week. The guy's been kind of slept on in the sense that, is he going to give you the crazy big games? No, but he's still there. He's still going to get work, right? He still saw 10 touches last game, 4 of them through the air, 4 targets in back-to-back games, 14 carries combined over his last 4. You're just going to have to make some decisions in a spot like this. And Barkley's the clear top option, undisputed. But think about this. If you get down further, if Brian Robinson doesn't score those touchdowns last week, he wasn't targeted a single time. And I know against Tampa Bay he was. So maybe we could say he's more likely to regress to just like a 2 target per game guy. I'm not saying you take the touchdowns away from him either, but it's still a good Philly defense, right? So you can't just go in expecting that type of production. And then Kareem Hunt and Pacheco, there's no clear guy there on a team that is perfectly happy just dink and dunking their way down the field. And then James Cook against Kansas City. So what do we do?
So yeah, I think you have, I mean, listen, it's only 4 teams, so there's not a ton of options, but there's really not a ton of options in my opinion of Saquon. I thought James Cook represented himself really well against as bad of a matchup as you can have. Sure. He still had 20 total touches.
Yeah.
So to me, it's go spend that money. And then Eckler seems like if you're going to tell me he's going to get 10 to 12 touches and half are going to be targets, that's pretty nice. Sure, the touchdown variance is going to be higher with a guy like that, but I feel most comfortable with him. So for me, you've got Saquon and you've got Cook. You've got Eckler. I'm not sure how many other places you can even go. Gainwell is not a serious part of the offense right now. He had 1 touch. Ty Johnson, sure, he's a good player, but I didn't even think Ray Davis was going to play, never mind contribute. And he did.
I hear you on that.
What do you do? Like, I don't know how you go to a backup running back for the Bills. You're certainly not getting, I mean, can you do it? Sure. But I tried to play Pacheco and that failed miserably. I don't know how you comfortably go to him. There's just not that many options.
At all. I still think Ty Johnson, if you're in large field stuff, is viable. we talked about it on last week's show when we went and looked back from last year. They are still willing to use him in the playoffs. Like he is still utilized. To what extent, I don't know. Are you better off just going with cheaper wide receivers and tight ends? The answer to that is probably yes, right? I mean, it's just probably yes.
Yes.
Barkley, Cook, Eckler. Eckler looks good, man. Eckler looks good. If you had to choose between Hunt and Pacheco, who is, I think it's Kareem Hunt at this point.
I've had that question for like a month straight, and I've chose Pacheco every time, and I've been wrong basically every time.
I hear you.
So
wide receiver it's just silly. I don't know what to make of it. The highest priced receiver is AJ Brown. Mind you, AJ Brown through 2 postseason games has a combined 3 receptions for 24 yards. Incredible stuff. You know, is that something that we expect to continue? No, not like that. But I mean, I don't know how much better we can actually project him. I looked at his receiving prop, 61.5. Not great. Devonta Smith is another one. Truthfully, I'm looking across all of this and go, yeah, well, Terry McLaurin at 6,700. He honestly looks better than AJ Brown at this stage.
He does, but the margin is starting to shrink in terms of depth of price, and that's interesting to me. You're
That's
talking
a great point. Yeah,
upwards of 2,000 between them. Now it's only 1,000, and I agree, he looks better, but this is still AJ Brown we're talking about. So that is going to be interesting. And then right below him, I actually think you have the best range in Shakir and Worthy. I feel good about both of them. They get involved, just solid players. This is where you're going to be living, and it's not expensive. And that's why everyone's lineup, I would assume, is going to be pick your quarterback, pay up at running back, pepper the cheapies at wide receiver, punt tight end, and pick a defense.
I think Devonta Smith is fine too. He's 5,800.
Oh, you could. Like, I definitely could see a lineup where you just have Smith, Shakir, and Worthy.
Sure. But to your original point, you're right. Even AJ Brown, now that he's sub 7K, like this guy's 6,800. I'm not scared off enough from the last couple of games to where I don't want to play him at sub 7K. Like he's still a monster. They're still gonna get him the ball. They haven't really needed to over the last couple of games. 6,800 is crazy. So him, McLaurin, I don't know if there's one guy in the top 5 as far as prices are concerned that doesn't look good this week.
No, I mean, wide receiver is going to be fascinating because the next range, there's about 10 guys whose, floor is straight 0, but you know that a couple of them are going to play well, starting with Hopkins. I'd say legitimately down to, like Curtis Samuel.
I think De'Ami Brown is going to be popular again.
I would agree.
Like back-to-back big games in the postseason at a discounted price point, and he's still not super expensive.
I just know myself that
Zacchaeus goes off this week.
No, he's not, because I'm going to do it. Like, I'm definitely going to do it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the game theory play, is just Zacchaeus, who was hurt, who got 0. That's going to be one of those. And that's just like, this hasn't been different, but how the hell do you choose a non-Shakir Buffalo receiver and feel even remotely good that you're not going to get 0?
Amari Cooper in that game had 1 target. The ball wasn't even close, right? It was thrown into the bleachers, essentially. They brought him on, and he has been not only ineffective, but unused. Look at the snap counts for this team. It's heinous. Matt Collins last game, and we can get into routes run as well. Matt Collins, 52%. Keon Coleman, 66%. Khalil Shakir, 67%. Curtis Samuel, 31%. Amari Cooper, 34%. Dawson Knox, 57%. Dalton Kincaid, 51%. They said it. We should have listened before the season started that their motto was everyone eats. Well, they've told no lies. What's that?
I said this new motto is everyone starves because none of these guys are doing anything. So It's not exactly like that.
Right. But yeah, you're right. I guess what I mean is that they're just all out there sporadically and randomly. And there's no like, oh yeah, Khalil Shakir is playing 95% of snaps and running routes on every drop back. It's just not the way it is. It's just one big ugly rotation.
Brutal, brutal. And not to mention, we'll get there. You can just throw Knox and Kincaid right into that blender because they're not doing anything. All these guys that we just mentioned, they all had two or a lone target in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Amari, Coleman, Hollins, Samuel, Kincaid, and Knox. They all had one or two targets.
I know.
That's insane. That's insane.
So Allen has 55 dropbacks through the postseason. Shakir has 41 routes run. Kincaid has 33. Coleman 30. Knox 29. Hollins 27. So now you're in like 50% range, right? 26 for Samuel, 24 for Ty Johnson, 23 for Amari Cooper, 21 for James Cook. That what I'm getting at here is that even if you were to take Khalil Shakir, that's 75% of routes run per dropback, which is fine. It's fine. But these guys are living in like the 50 to 60% range. Some of them well below that, like Amari and Curtis Samuel. That's gross.
It's brutal. And like I said, it's not going to change. And it's two sides of the same thing. All the guys we just mentioned are still playable because they're going to have a couple of opportunities. And if they catch it, it's a 2-game slate. You catch a touchdown, you easily could get there if the other value just isn't there. So it's risk reward, but truly it feels like you're flipping on a, I don't know, like 60-40 the other direction. Like these feels like bad coin flips.
Yep. Einsteinium said, Laffy, you could have played Josh Allen naked last week, LOL. Yeah, I mean, sure, in hindsight, but also he would have had 19. He was still like he was just okay. Like he scored 2 rushing touchdowns, but didn't really have the type of game that you'd need anyway.
No,
the real move would have just been playing nobody from Buffalo.
Yeah, that was the move.
Mm-hmm. In hindsight, of course. Yeah. I don't see how you it's early in the week, but let's take somewhat of a stand, right? I don't see how you go back to guys like Amari Cooper. If you're playing large field stuff and you have a ton of lineups, sure. And this is also a game where they potentially have to throw more than they did. Route over the Broncos, and then last week they had a lead, almost blew it, but they had an early lead. What was it, 21-7 going into halftime? But Coleman has a single target in each of these last 2 games. Curtis Samuel had that big game, but then was targeted 2 times last week. I would probably still rather look towards like a Hollywood Brown. And Hollywood Brown had 0 receptions on 2 targets last week, but at least I know he was on the field.
I mean, again, you're not going to find someone that performed well last week outside Dynamite Brown, my guy on Washington. You're going to have to take one of those guys. I would agree that Hollywood would probably be where I looked. If I had to take a non-Bills pass catcher, non-tight end, a wide receiver who's not Shakir, I think for me it would be Keon Coleman, but I don't really want to get to any of these guys.
You will naturally end up getting to some of them if you're playing a bunch of lineups.
Oh, I know I'm going to. It feels like I said this just before, like normally I'd say, okay, I'm on a coin flip. This feels like a coin flip where you're shading to the bad outcome.
Yep. I just don't want to speak in absolutes. That's the only reason I'm clarifying.
It's 2 games. If you're on the field, you're in play.
Yes. With that in mind, though, there is nothing encouraging about an Amari Cooper spot right now. I mean, he's basically not even in the offense, and a lot of those guys. DeAndre Hopkins being another one. Remember, we were kind of, it was guesswork last week where we're like, were they waiting to get DeAndre Hopkins more work into the postseason? Like, will he be out there more? He played 6 he played 16 snaps. 16.
Like I said, this is going to be, it's such a weird, and it's 2 games, but it's like, you're not going to be pressed for salary, but you are going to be pressed for just finding production that you feel confident in.
Even if you were to be like, yeah, well, they didn't throw all that much. He ran 13 routes. 13 routes on the game. That's like the backup tight ends we talk about in showdown slates.
It's brutal. These are bad numbers.
That's why I'd rather just go to Hollywood Brown. Like Hollywood Brown at least ran 23 routes out of 32 dropbacks. That's not bad. You can live with that at that price, especially as a deep threat. 67% of snaps. So the only guys that saw more than him were Travis Kelce and Xavier Worthy. Like I feel more confident about Marquise Brown, who also goose-egged last week, than I do DeAndre Hopkins.
I do too. The one thing that's interesting is I think there is some, and again, it's unquantifiable, but it's also the Chiefs. And I do think of all the teams that if you told me for no rhyme or reason that I could see that something crazy changes with one of these teams, I would say the Chiefs are the #1 team to do that.
I could see that as well.
Like if Pacheco had 25 carries in this game, I'd just be like, what the hell? And then I'd be like, that's the Chiefs. They do things like that.
Sure. But at the same time, they brought Hollywood Brown in the offseason. Like this was an acquisition that they really wanted this guy. DeAndre Hopkins, no shade towards DeAndre Hopkins. He's one of my favorite receivers ever. I think anyone who's watched him over the last decade or whatever it is can appreciate what he's done. They brought him in essentially as like as an insurance policy when everyone got hurt.
Couldn't agree more. I also totally agree with the last comment in chat. If Hollywood catches that deep ball, we're talking about him as a premier chalk option here.
I know. And remember that reverse correlation play
I do, yeah.
I like that was, it wouldn't have been in the end zone, but that
was the right concept.
Yeah, because I knew he wouldn't get a ton of work. But anyway, you're grasping at straws here. Yes. That's all. And that's why I think De'Ami Brown is going to be real chalky. I think people are going to flood towards a guy like that.
That just has to be a pivot for me on principle.
I feel like it does. Because he's had what, two of these games, they've come in the spotlight in the postseason. Right? Like that. Do you think I'm wrong that he's going to be popular? Because I think people are going to flock towards him.
I mean, the playoffs to me is one of the most it's like contained amongst itself. So like people are playing and they played De'Ami Brown and they're going to keep playing him, or they haven't played him and they're like, I'm not going to get killed by this guy for the 3rd week in a row. Like there's a lot of continuation in rosters, I think.
And then they will get killed by him because they played him this week.
I mean, I hope that's the case.
Yeah. He's on paper, he's still a very good player. It's just a matter of do you want, well, we'll have ownership and we should have a first run of ownership tomorrow, which I'm looking forward to. Let's rank our receivers. Let's go top 5. I'll even go first. I think I still have to put, I'm going to flip flop here. I'm going to backpedal, admittedly so don't say anything. A point that you made earlier in this conversation kind of changed how I look at this. I'm going to go AJ Brown first. You're just right. Once you get that cheap, I'm okay with that. Then I'll go McLaurin, Shakir, Worthy, and Smith in that order. And then I would go, I think Hollywood Brown ends up being my guy here.
Very similar for me. Minor changes. I'd probably put Shakir second. I do like this. I do think that he is the most reliable weapon for Buffalo. His targets are convertible at a high rate. I just expect him to play well, but I would basically be in line with you. The first 5 guys, I think, are firmly playable in all situations, and I feel confident about all of them. Once you get to Hopkins, I feel confident in legitimately nobody. It goes off a straight cliff.
I agree. That's why I'm saying if you had to pick one cheap guy, Who is it? For me, it's Brown because I think the ceiling is there.
Hollywood Brown, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
sorry,
then,
right. There's a
yeah.
De'Ami Brown too.
It would be him or yeah, it would have to be him. Keon Coleman, like I said, if I had to pick another Bill, and if you want the obvious blocker or just the guy that, you know, Miami Brown is the one that stands out. But for game theory, that's going to be an over. He will simply be over owned. That doesn't mean he doesn't get there, but he will be over owned.
Without question. Yep. And then if you're just trying to do something wild, you've got guys like Mac Hollins and stuff at 33.
Justin Watson, who
and Justin Watson, yeah,
gets 0, and then
and then he'll have 30,
14.
Yep. Let's talk tight ends, and then hop out of here for the day. Appreciate you guys hanging with us as always. Oh, and we have 20% off any single sport right now with promo code BINK, BINK. Links in the description. Just use that at checkout, and you'll be in business. Just use promo BINK, BINK at checkout. That's 20% off any single sport DFS packages, week or month, which means, Ben, that if you were looking to get in on like PGA right now, or MMA, or NBA, or anything, 20% off the entirety of the first payment. As always, I'd say do the month because the 20% off is a lot more significant, but no matter what you want, it's 20% off the first payment of any of, and that's like sims included, right? Single lineup sim, sims, post contest sim, late swap tool for NBA, and all of that stuff. So it's not just like a basic package. It's any package you want 20% off.
Yeah. When someone is rocking the avatar and wins a milli, it's awesome for everyone. And we wanted to celebrate.
Single bullet too.
Single bullet. That part is crazy. Like just said he wasn't even sure he was going to play.
Yeah.
And just fire, boom. And I'll give you some credit. Said he watched the Sim show. And there it is. So we wanted to, of course, have some fun with it. Made the promo code BANK. There it is. Take advantage of it because that's just a cool time for everyone. You love seeing that.
It's awesome. And I say with Greg all the time, like this show that you and I do is the perfect table setter. But then once you get to Friday and you can run the Sims and really see the type of builds that you're getting, right? And like where you're getting that positive simulated ROI and where the leverage is coming from, it puts the slate into an entirely different perspective than early in the week. So, yeah, that's why we kind of do it the way we do. And yeah, shout out, $1 million win, just fantastic stuff. Rocking the beautiful avatar. Go to stokastic.com/HOF, by the way, if you're not rocking that avatar yet. Simplest way to get just a ton of free subscriptions. You get up to $1,000 worth of subs just from getting silver, bronze, silver, gold. Doesn't matter even if you're entering the dime package on FanDuel or whatever it is. Just as long as you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, tweet us your wins at Stokastic HOF. But anyway, yeah, link down there. Use promo code BINK, 20% off any package we've got. These tools work. Flat out, the tools work. And you got the free week on Portfolio EV too, Ben. So essentially, there's just a lot of ways to make money this time of year. Tight ends. I think you probably have to go back to Dalton Kincaid this week. I don't know how much I buy into the Chiefs versus tight ends at this point. It kind of just, it is what it is, but he's cheap. He's $3,600. Then you've got Ertz, Goddard, and Kelsey. Kelsey's price point last week, I don't think anyone would disagree with this, was just wrong going into the postseason. There's very little reason to think that Kelsey should have been 5K flat.
Yeah, I mean, again, some of it's hindsight, but even then, it's just like the guy turns it on. They turn it on.
Not really hindsight, just knowing that $5,000 for that guy. I see what you're saying. I'm not saying he should have been 7K.
No, it's more if you looked at if you didn't know who the player was and you looked at his year and you said, how expensive should this guy be? I think that's pretty fair for his production. But again, a little more context than that is Travis Kelsey. And yeah, you've got some pretty decent tight ends up top. Like you obviously feel good about him. Goddard's been good. Ertz, no doubt, caught a touchdown. That helps. And then you have the 2 Buffalo guys, which I hate doing this, but on a 2-game slate, it's a little more necessary. I've coined this term for a long time now. not only, it's a parlay instead of a straight bet. Not only do you need one of the Bills tight ends to perform, you have to figure out, is it Kincaid or Knox? That's brutal.
And they're both playing, like they both basically split work last game.
Yeah, so you have to get two things right, because it's not as simple as, oh, will a tight end take advantage of Kansas City? It's, will one? If yes, which one?
I know. Dawson Knox has run 4 fewer routes than Kincaid in the postseason. That's not encouraging.
No.
At this point, do you just say, like, I'll pay $1,000 less for Dawson Knox?
You can. The thing that kind of sucks is you don't need money. So
right. True.
Yeah, you could do that, but you better not be doing it to say, because I'm going to spend. There's nowhere to spend up.
Do you just make it an ownership play then? I mean, if Kincaid ends up being, a whole lot more popular because, like you said, the salary is less important, exponentially higher owned, then maybe Knox is the guy. Or it doesn't have to be Knox. It doesn't have to be like the 1-for-1 Buffalo play. It's possible that none of them get there.
Very possible.
But I do think this is one of those games where they have to throw more.
I agree. That's why I kind of am looking towards some of these Bills. Like, this will be a week where I definitely have Josh Allen +2, and I didn't have any of that last week.
Fair. I think Goddard looks very good this week too, though. I think Goddard's going to be a tough tight end to get away from, honestly. Especially if Hurts isn't particularly mobile. Goddard's on the field a ton, man. Like, we're talking about guys like Kincaid, right? And Noah Gray and Knox. Like, at this point, legitimate part-time players. You've got Goddard, who's literally playing the whole game. This guy's playing the entirety of the game, save, for a couple of snaps. He's played 92 and 95% of offensive snaps over the first 2 playoff games. He is on the field a ton. Even Ertz 63 and 68%. Goddard is on the field more than any other tight end on this slate.
Yeah, and that's not changing. That's just not changing.
No way. No chance.
No chance. So, yeah, I mean, even with the, like, I definitely anticipate having some double tight ends and just kind of taking 2 of the top. I mean, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's only, in my mind, 7 playable, and that's being generous. Really not even that many. So, like, you're not confined to that many options. You take a couple, you call it a day.
All right, well, that'll do it. Give me Kelsey Goddard up top, of course, just to throw that out there. Those are my 2 favorites. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know.
No, I would agree, and I would give Kincaid the nod over Knox, but
yeah, but neither of them are comfortable.
No.
Matt Riley asked, more than Kelsey. No, I mean, Kelsey to me is still the top guy there, but there's a big price difference. I think it's going to be easy to play both of them if you want. Kelsey Goddard teams probably come into play for sure. Really, how much worse is Goddard than like De'Ami Brown or Hollywood Brown or DeAndre Hopkins or any of those guys? They're all the same price. You can flex them all. Anyway, follow Ben at JazzRazBets, me at Lafayette_D. You have any questions about Portfolio EV, please hit us up. Join the Discord or hit me up in the DMs over on Twitter. We're happy to help you. We want to. I'm going to see if I can I'll get a demo out there for anyone that's looking into that. But yeah, we'll catch you guys back here for the next one tomorrow. Single lineup sim show. Peace.